Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining Crazy8s Film Society on a Sunday afternoon for our 2026 registration and pitch information session. Super grateful to have you all here to share this with us and the teams that have graciously volunteered their time to come and chat with all of you, as well as our longstanding juror to just, I guess, share a little bit about their experiences. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that Crazy8s Film Society and many of our productions over the years, since 1999, are really grateful to take place in the shared ancestral unceded territories of the Musqueam, the Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. We also are completely unable to function without our awesome sponsors. I'd just like to give a sponsor shout out to all of the awesome organizations that sponsored us for Crazy8s 2025. We are presented by the DGC BC. Our presenting sponsors were Telefilm Canada, Creative BC. Our gold sponsor was AFBS. Our silver sponsors include ACFC West, the CMPA, ICG 669, IATSE 891, and Leith Wheeler Investment Council. Our bronze sponsors are Bridge Studios, ICG, and UBCP. Film industry supporters include Visionary Productions, and our educational supporters, Capilano University School of Motion Picture Arts and the UBC School of Creative Writing. Thank you all so much for helping make this all run. Before we launch into it, just a few Zoom housekeeping things. Now, we are recording this session, and the entire session will be available on our YouTube channel in a registration and pitch info session playlist that includes sessions from as far back as 2022, I think. So if there's anything that you missed, or if you're looking to hear from other teams as well, then that's where you would go. Our YouTube is just Crazy8s Film. Also, there is a group Q&A after everyone has spoken and presented. Please do, as soon as you think of a question, you should see a Q&A little icon at the bottom of your screen. Please type it into there. And all of the speakers will be coming back for a group Q&A at the very end of the session. So as soon as you have a question, just type it in there and we will address it at the group session afterwards. Yeah, and that's about it. I hope you guys enjoy this. What's coming up the next hour and a half? So this is what's on. First, we'll run through a little bit about Crazy8s and how it works. And then our Crazy8s registration coordinator, Matthew Broughton, will just provide a few registration how-tos and FAQs. And then after that, we will all have a chat with the key creative team from Red Light Revel, from the very latest Crazy8s 2025, the director and two of the producers. And then after that, we will be speaking with the team Headcase, also from Crazy8s 2025, the director and co-writer, and the other co-writer and actor, Pat, a producer and actor, Siobhan, and also the producer, Jessica, too. And then last but certainly not least, we will speak with Jayme Pfahl, one of our longstanding Crazy8s jurors. I believe this may be the 8th year that he's been a juror with us, which is amazing. So certainly a lot of perspective there. And then right after that, we'll just go into the group conversation with your questions. Just getting right into it now, what is Crazy8s? I know that some of you may already know what Crazy8s is, but just in case, and it never hurts to be reminded, Crazy8s is an 8-day filmmaking challenge that provides support and funding to emerging and mid-career BC-based Canadian filmmakers to help them make a professionally produced short film. It is Vancouver's longest running short filmmaking program. Now in its 27th year, and to date, 151 films have been made through the Crazy8s program. It is run by a registered BC not-for-profit society, the Crazy8s Film Society, but Crazy8s was originally founded back in 1999 by members of the Directors Guild of Canada, BC branch. And it really happened because one of the members went down to Seattle and saw something like this and kind of thought, well, why don't we have anything like that up here? And they just decided to do it. And back then it really was 8 days, $800, 800 feet of film. And that was how they did it. So Crazy8s has come a long way since. We also would like to emphasize that the Crazy8s Film Society does believe very much in equality, diversity, and inclusive community. And that's reflected in our staff and in our productions. For more about Crazy8s, please go to crazy8s.film. So how about copyright and ownership, I think is the next slide. Where are we at? Next slide, please. Or no? Okay, so I think, or do we, oh no, how does Crazy8s work? I'm crazy. No, scratch that. We will get to copyright and ownership in a second. So how does Crazy8s actually work? Many people have a lot of questions. It's a little confusing because it's a 3-step process to even get to the point where your film could be made through us. So the very first step is what's happening right now, which is the submission phase. And we ask for everybody to tell us your short film concept and story in a
Hey everybody, is it just me or Spencer? Oh, there we go. Grace, we lost you for a few seconds there. We
Oh,
lost
no
your
way.
internet. Could you go back about 20 seconds?
Yes. Oh, that's so weird. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, for the submission stage, the initial submission stage, please send us a maximum 3-minute video of your short film concept and story, as well as the first 3 pages of the script draft of the project that you are pitching us. So when everything is submitted, there is a pitch jury of usually 4 or 5 people who go through all of that. They go through all of the video pitches and all of the script drafts, and they select 40 quarterfinalists. And these 40 quarterfinalists will then go on to pitch live in person to a completely separate other jury of 5 people. And you have a maximum of 5 minutes to pitch and a maximum of 5 minutes right after that for the jury to ask you questions. Right then and there, after everyone has pitched, the jury will select 12 semifinalists from the 40 quarterfinalists who will then go on to a script development phase. You will be provided with a professional story editor, and this process takes about a month. And at the end of that, you'll submit a final draft. From this draft, the same live pitch jury will select 6 finalists. If you are a finalist, you will receive a $2,000 cash stipend from Crazy8s Film Society, as well as an in-kind production package that per team, so per 6 finalists, each team will receive $50,000 or more in-kind lighting gear, and all of that, and equipment, as well as post-production, sound and color finishing services provided by all of the sponsors and partners of Crazy8s. And yeah, after that, after those 8 crazy days, the 6 finalists will actually get to screen your film in front of typically an audience of about 1,600 people at the center in Vancouver, and the after party is usually in Science World. All of these 6 finalists also receive a lot of workshops and mentorship as well. So very importantly, let's talk about copyright and ownership. So who owns the film that you produce through us? Crazy8s Film Society owns the copyright in the gala screening version of the short film and whatever film festival version, like say if you do a recut, that goes on to film festivals. And this is basically because of everything that we put into it. We are the primary producer of the film, and so we own it. We will work to distribute this finished film to broadcasters and other distro methods. And in terms of splitting the profits, once distribution commissions and expenses are paid out, and that includes 20% to UBCP, every single one of our productions is a signatory to the UBCP, that's the Actors Union ultra low budget agreement. And per that, once your film's budget is recouped, we provide UBCP with 20% as a residual fee to all the actors that worked on your film. But once everything's paid out, any remaining profits are split 50-50 between Crazy8s Film Society and your team, the filmmaker. So when it comes to film festivals, though, if you send your film to a festival and it wins, say, best short film, and there's a $5,000 prize associated with that, you keep all of that money yourself, and you are also responsible for film festival submission fees. So if you win anything at a film festival, you keep it all. You also submit to film festivals, in terms of the fees, you would be responsible for that. You do retain the right to produce sequels, and that could be a feature of series, a web series, or any other production that's based on your crazy short film. And because a lot of teams are not necessarily just a team of one, especially when it comes to effort and money that's put into it, each of your team should decide internally how you want to split the expenses and profits. That's entirely up to you, and also who has final artistic control, who might have the final say on what that looks like. Next slide, please. So these are the key dates for this year. You guys can read this. It's fairly self-explanatory. I guess a big thing would be the early bird submission deadline is in about a week, like on Friday. I would just like to emphasize that you can register at any time and submit your actual materials after that, anytime up to the submission deadline of October 17th. So you could register now to get the early bird rate and then just submit your materials later on. As long as you submit it before 11:59 on October the 17th, you're golden. And then in terms of the rest of it, you will hear back from us by mid-November. The in-person pitch session is pretty soon after that. And then we announce the top 12 teams by the end of November. And you will hear back, like if you are a semifinalist, by mid-January if you've hit the top 6. The gala next year is April the 11th. That's already set. And the production and post-production dates, the 8 crazy days, are also locked. March 6th to March 8th are the production dates, and post-production is until March the 13th. Next slide, please. Oh, it doesn't seem to be any slides. It looks like, Christian, some of the attendees, it seems, can't actually see any slides. Is there any way to? Thanks for letting us know, guys. Holy.
I can see that, Grace. Jayme here. I don't know whether the audience can, though.
Yeah, like I don't know. Christian, do you know if okay, so
I
you
think it
guys
might be
can
just
see now?
affecting people on iOS devices or mobile,
Oh,
but
okay.
I'll try to make it visible on that.
Oh, it looks like they can see it now. Thanks, guys, for letting us know. Ah, See, it pays to like keep all of the windows open at the same time. I was like, what are people saying? Oh yeah, that's what people are saying. Okay, no, that's cool. Okay, so for key eligibility requirements, this is what we need from you guys to just to make sure that you are even eligible. So we don't just want to take your money, like we want you guys to know for sure that you're eligible to even apply before you do it. So the director, writer, producer, and the lead actor of your project that are attached to your project must be Canadian citizens or Canadian permanent residents and BC residents. When we say Canadian permanent resident, we mean someone who is currently a permanent resident, has the papers and the PR number, not someone who is applying for it or hasn't gotten it yet. And a BC resident, I think it's like 3 months before you're considered a BC resident. So essentially, if you can apply for a care card or a service card in BC, then that means that you are a BC resident. You do also have to be 19 plus, and you have to be either the project's attached writer, director, or producer to apply. So the principal applicant, the person who actually puts in the application, does have to be attached to the project as the writer, director, or producer. You can't apply if you're a full-time high school student, or apply as a director again if you've previously directed a Crazy8s film. The completed film has to be at least 5 minutes long. There's usually no problem with that, and not more than 18 minutes. And that includes a 10 script page maximum. How does a 10-page script end up being like up to 18 minutes? Well, it kind of depends on how many stunts and how many, yeah. Let's just say that we know from experience that it can actually be longer than that, even though your maximum script length is 10 pages. And the TRT, this refers to the TRT, so that includes your on-screen credits. Your story can be any live action genre. That includes all of the genres you can think of. We have also produced musicals as well. The only thing we do not accept is anything that's completely animated or anything that's completely AI or a full-on documentary. We have accepted mockumentaries in the past, but not documentaries. So your story does have to be your original idea or something that you have the rights or permission to tell, or a story that's adapted from work that's considered in the public domain. And yes, that does include AI also. Next slide, please. Unless, wait. Yes, no, now we are going to hear from Matthew Broughton, our registration coordinator. Sorry, Matthew, I almost forgot that it was your turn. Take it away, Matthew.
No problem. Thank you, Grace. Yes, I will be your guide through your first steps through your Crazy8s journey, which is, again, your pitch to us. So I'm going to share my screen here. And yeah, the first thing you're going to do is go to filmfreeway.com, and you're going to log in or create your account in the top right up here. Go to My Projects, and you're going to add a project, or if you have it ready, yeah, you create it. The default is film and video, which is what you're submitting. Put in your title, a log line or synopsis, brief synopsis, the submitter information. You don't have to put in your social media if you don't want to, but this is pretty important, your submitter info, so we can reach you later. If you have other key creatives like your director, the writer, producer, you can put them in here, but it's optional. You don't have to. And down here is optional as well to put in. Yeah, you don't need to put in this info, and then yeah, you don't need this. And then you save your project. You can always go back and edit any of these, like information that you put in under edit project. You can change the logline or title even if you changed it later. But the next important is getting your file and your script sample. So to do that is you go to project file, and you can upload it directly or use a Vimeo or a YouTube link here. And if there's a password, put it in there. And then your script sample, you put under files and attachments. So please make sure it's a PDF, no Word documents or final draft files, please, just PDF. And all this other stuff is optional too, the director bio or a headshot. If you don't have that, it's okay. And yeah, just a reminder, that your pitch video has to be 3 minutes long, not a second over, has to be related to, it can't be like a short film, and the script sample as well has to be related to the project that you're pitching. It can't be a random script sample, it has to be related to that. And then, so if you have that, or even if you don't, like Grace said, you can submit it before everything is ready, before the early bird deadline. You go to browse festivals and search for Crazy8s. And if you're feeling confident, you can just submit it here right now. But I would recommend going to the actual festival page and just like reading through all the rules and look at those prizes. Those are pretty nice. You can read through those and the rules and terms. Just kind of goes through everything. It's quite a read, but it's good to take your time going through just all the eligibility. Even has the timeline and the different phases of the production. So I would read through that. Then once you're ready, go to submit now, select your project, and then answer these quick questions here to make sure you're eligible, and just like what role you're submitting as, what's the genre, and other eligibility. And then you can add to the cart and check out. And as Grace said, yes, you can. I imagine most of you don't have your pitch video and sample ready, but you can submit before this Friday without all that. Just make sure you have all the video and the script sample uploaded before 11:59 p.m. on Friday, October 17th. But definitely don't wait until the very last minute to upload everything, or there will be consequences. But yeah, that's it from me. I'll be around at the end for a Q&A if there's any like technical questions about submitting, or just how Film Freeway works. Or you can also email me at submissions@crazy8s.film. Now back to Grace.
Yep. Snarp. Okay, thank you so much, Matthew. Yeah. I think the next, what's in a script sample? Yeah, yes, we do. What about the script sample? Could we have slide 9, please, Christian? Yep, that's it. It's not displaying wide for me. It looks like Matthew was still pinned. Is it possible just to pin the slide? Is that just a setting for me? Oh, wait. Okay, no, I've got it now. Okay, so now that you've actually looked at what the process is, let's get down to it. What should go into your script sample? So your script sample, as both Matthew and myself have mentioned, it must be of the project that you're pitching. We do not accept any submissions unless they are through Film Freeway. So please submit on Film Freeway along with your video pitch file. Your script sample should be in an industry standard script screenplay format and as a PDF file. It has to include the first 3 pages of your current script draft, plus a title page that has your script title. It should be the same as your working project title. Titles can change all the time, so don't worry about this. Just whatever you feel you want to call your project at this point. You won't be penalized for a weird title or a title that put in the title, and the date of your draft, as well as your name and your contact information. If you did use any AI elements for your draft, if you did, then please also mention this on your title page, and also what it was used for. Did you use it to help you edit? Did you use it to help you? How did you use it? So this sample can also be an early and a rough draft. Like, it doesn't have to be, we're not expecting like a polished draft, but it should show whether the story has the potential to work as a script and whether the first 3 pages have a compelling hook. Given that the maximum script page number is 10, if, say, by the first 3 pages of your script, the jury isn't convinced or sold on your script, then this is something that will help inform whether they advance you or not. And that was actually the reason why we brought in the script draft requirement as well, because the video pitch jury was very interested to see, aside from the strength of your actual video pitch itself, whether it would actually work as a script. Next slide, please.
Grace, is Christian here? I'm just going to interrupt. There's a slide before this one that we skipped.
Which
What's in
one?
the video pitch?
Oh,
Did-
okay, no, in that case, then let's look at that one.
You-
Sorry, guys,
Yeah.
cart before the horse. What's in the video pitch? I don't know if you guys have pitched before, but it can be really scary. It's actually more helpful, I think, to just pitch in a video first, because you get a chance to practice a lot and do it this way instead of, you know, like right away going into a room cold. So what goes into a video pitch? You would first ideally start with your slate. That just means you saying, my name is, my role on this is, and the working title of your project. If you already have a team in place, or even another key creative, such as a co-writer or a producer, already attached at this point when you're providing us with your video pitch, you can pitch with them. But you can also pitch on your own. And in the past, people have pitched on their own and they've advanced through, and other people have pitched with like, their entire team and they've gone through. So it isn't really, there's no preference for one or the other. You can pitch however makes you feel comfortable and however you feel will best present your idea. Also, please tell us what your idea is. Please start with your log line. That just means a one-line summary of what your story is. And please include the ending of your story. Don't leave it out as a surprise. By this, I mean, please tell us the entire story, because the video pitch jury, they really need to know your story from beginning to end in order to assess it properly. If you leave something out as a surprise, then the jury might feel mistakenly that you don't actually have an ending to your story, or that it's not a very good one. So please do let us know what the ending is. And also really key here is why you should be the one to tell the story. Tell us about your personal connection to the story or to the way that you want to tell it. It's really, really important because there are so many submissions every year. Last year there were 150 submissions. And so the jury is not looking to cut people, like that's not their attitude. What they're really looking for is why they should select you and your story. So if you provide a compelling reason why you want to tell this story and why you should be the one to tell this story, then please do include that in your video pitch. Do mention any resources you already have on board to help you make the film, especially if it might seem like a tough thing to pull off in just the 8 days for production and post that you have. I guess an example that I've used in the past, which I will use again because it's not a bad example, is if you have a film that's set on a flamingo farm with a lot of flamingos, and a crucial plot point is a flamingo. How would you actually go about doing this? So definitely in your video pitch, don't just say, yeah, it's set in a flamingo farm. That's really cool. And we're going to have this flamingo that's going to be the main character. Please tell the video pitch jury how you intend to pull this off. And also, this is a good place to, if you do use any AI elements in your pitch, mention that you have and how you have used them. And the most crucially, show how passionate you are about this. Like, tell the jury why you really, really want to make this film. And if you really, really believe in your idea and that you guys, that you are the ones to actually make this film and you want to make it through Crazy8s, that will come through in the video pitch. And that goes a really long way to, to helping convince the jury. Yeah. Thanks so much, Christian, for reminding me about this. And I think we can go to the next slide now. What about the live pitch? Yeah, so we do have a live pitch juror that will maybe provide like a little bit more insight into this, but just generally speaking, this is what we require. So the live pitch will take place, I believe this year it's November 22nd and 23rd. So the director must either attend their pitch session in person or must be available to virtually attend. So we have the technology to Zoom you in, but you do have to be there. There can be no live pitch without the director. And once again, just like with the video pitch, you can pitch on your own or with your team. So by the day of your live pitch, you must have a writer attached, and ideally also at least one producer, and ideally your lead producer. By lead producer, we just mean someone who is going to take the lead on producing. You might have as many as 5 or 6 other producers ultimately or eventually, and we do encourage that you have a strong producing team, but we encourage you to have at least one producer attached by then. And before your live pitch happens, so I think the announcement of the top 40 of the quarterfinalists is November the 12th, and the live pitch will be November 22nd and the 23rd. So between that, it's about a couple of weeks, a week and a half. All directors, writers, and producers that are attached to your project, your quarterfinal project at this point, must submit a CAVCO ID before you pitch. And this will be proof to us of your Canadian citizenship or your current PR status. No exceptions. And also, during this week and a half period, we ask you to submit a digital one-sheet doc that includes a short synopsis of your project, as well as the bio of the director, and to also bring 6 hard copies to hand out to the jurors. So that would be a total of 5 jurors and 1 hard copy for just Crazy8s Film Society records. Ideally, by then as well, you would already have a full treatment or a full script draft, because the jury may ask if you do. You don't need to bring these with you, but it's usually a really good idea to already have a full treatment or a full script draft, because it will really help you in your live pitch to sound confident, to be confident. And if the jury have any story-related questions for you, it will be a lot easier to answer them accurately if you already have this full treatment or full script draft. And finally, this is mainly a verbal pitch. You can use artwork or props to help you out as you're pitching, but we don't provide any AV in the room other than the ability to actually zoom in a participant that may not be able to attend in person. So again, if you use any AI elements for your one sheet or that you've included in your as part of your live pitch, please mention that you have and how. Yeah. So now that we have, now that you guys have generally speaking the process, let's get down to it. Let's hear from a team that recently made a Crazy8s film, Team Red Light Revel. And let's play their video pitch right after this, so that you can see how that got done.
Hi, I'm Hannah, and this is Red Light Revel. To start off, let me tell you about Peter Lee. Peter is a devoted husband, father, and most importantly, a pastor at a prominent Korean Canadian church, just like his father before him. He's worked late into the night on a sermon and is on his way home from the church when suddenly he's stopped by a red light at an empty intersection. Here, Peter will face the biggest moral dilemma of his lifetime. Should he run the red light? Peter will encounter different characters that tempt him to run the red light, but they will also trigger memories of his father's teachings that convince him not to. Through all of this psychological push and pull, Peter successfully stays put. That is, until he sees a young man like himself completely unfazed by the red light. This sparks a different memory in Peter, him teaching his own son that sometimes rules can be broken. It's in this moment when Peter decides to do the most horrible thing he could imagine. He revs the engine, puts both hands on the steering wheel, and flies through the intersection. And in that moment, he's free. Red Light Rebel is a deeply personal story inspired by my life growing up in a strict Korean family influenced by over 5 generations of Christianity. Peter's internal struggle reflects my own journey of questioning and eventually breaking away from tradition to forge my own path. It's a tribute to the values of independence and free will. Thus, Peter's decision to run the red light is crucial. It's a moment that'll have people laughing, clapping, and leaving the theater with something deeper to think about. No matter how deeply faith or family traditions are woven into who you are, ultimately, you get to decide who you'll become. Red Light Rebel is going to be a genre-bending treat. Think The Good Place meets Drive. The film will start out cheery and upbeat, with Peter playing his favorite Korean hymn as he starts the car. However, when he gets to the red light, things will feel strange. Moody lighting, rain-slicked streets, and Peter's car bathed in the red glow of the traffic light. In contrast, Peter's memories will be warm, nostalgic, and comedically perfect in his Korean Christian community in the early 2000s. We'll use portal transitions to take our audiences through Peter's childhood. Red Light Rebel is the short to pick, and I'm the director to bring it to life. I've directed a short film with exterior night shots, cars. I've directed a music video with awesome VFX portal transitions. Crazy8s celebrates bold endings and fresh voices in filmmaking. What's bolder than a Korean-Canadian pastor soaring through a red light, breaking free from everything he thought to find him? So let me ask you.
Awesome. Amazing. Yeah. Welcome, Team Red Light Rebel.
Hello!
It would be awesome if you guys just want to introduce yourselves, just your names and your roles on Red Light Rebel, as well as anything else that you want to add that's happening in your awesome lives right now.
Sure, yeah. So I'm Hannah. I'm the one you saw in the video. I wrote and directed Red Light Rebel. And right now, just found out last night that after pitching to the Vancouver Queer Film Festival, our team was successful. So I will be directing a queer K-pop drama next year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ava?
Hey, I'm Ava. I produced for Hannah, and currently I have my feature coming up at VIFF and Vancouver Horror Show and VAF, so you can catch it multiple times.
And the name of the film is?
Foreigner. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Justin.
Yeah, October 6th, come see Foreigner at the Rio, I think it is. You can book tickets online. Hi, my name is Justin. I was a co-producer on this project. And it's crazy. I don't think I've actually seen that pitch video because I came in a bit later after Hannah and Ava made it to top 40, I believe. And so yeah, it's cool to see that and the original vision. What I've got going on, my first short film as a writer-director is going to Real World in October. So if anyone happens to be in Ontario, in Toronto during October 17th, come check it out. It's called Knots. It's about like an old sailor trying to repair her sailboat and then discovering the late memory of her husband still lingering below deck. So yeah, great to be here. Thanks, Grace.
Awesome. Congratulations, Justin. Yeah, so I know that I sent you guys like a few sample questions, so I'm not going to stray too far from those. How did all of you decide to work together? The reason we ask this every year is because every year that's one of the questions that we get asked most often. How do I even find my team? So this is open to all of you. Maybe Hannah, you want to start as the person who submitted?
Sure. So, I actually approached Ava. Oh, sorry. I should say that like I actually put out an Instagram story last summer stating that I was looking for a producer for a couple projects, and Ava messaged me saying she was interested in Red Light Rebel. So, she took the first step in putting her faith in me, and she read the concept and was like a fan, I think. And from then on, like we started tag teaming everything, applications, we applied to Crazy8s together. And then Justin came to the Celluloid Club event that was held where I think top 40 teams were invited to give like a one-line pitch quickly to the audience, because there's a bunch of filmmakers there. So if whoever's interested or wants to join, you can kind of chat afterwards, which is what Justin did. And so we thought, we were all a really great fit together, and we became a team.
Awesome. How did you guys put your video pitch together? And I'm not sure, Ava, if you were already attached at the time, but if you were, please feel free to, yeah.
Yeah, so I had originally joined just for the story, and then Hannah like expressed interest in wanting to do a Crazy8s after. And so yeah, and I was already maybe gonna do something else for Crazy8s, but then I reached out to you, Grace, about this project, and then I ended up on this. And then Hannah filmed the video in her car, which was really fun because the whole movie is about a guy in his car. And yeah, and it's what you saw. So
Yeah,
Okay.
I think like when we made the video, I thought it would be cool to just have like a bit of that essence and like flavor of what the actual film would be. So, bringing a car, have like these like road racing-esque fonts, and be able to add a little bit of like hymnal music. So just kind of giving clues to what I'm envisioning.
Cool. So in terms of, well, considering that you made it through quarterfinals and then on to the semifinal phase, which is story development, script development, maybe just tell us a little bit, and this is also for the producers as well, like how do you feel that phase contributed towards your story and the draft? Hannah,
Um,
as the writer, maybe go first, and then Ava and Justin. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I was really excited about the mentorship, especially story editing, because I had never worked with anyone in that capacity. And um, yeah, it was so valuable to have like a sit down session where we had a professional. We had the like amazing like Jessica Bradford. She's an instructor at VFS, and we had like an actual like session that was scheduled with Crazy8s. And then after the fact, she invited me to like continue having a couple more calls with her, which was totally out of her own volition. And we kept working the script, and it was so wonderful because like I think Crazy8s, like the people who like want to help out and join, genuinely care about like fostering and mentoring us. So yeah, and like Justin and Ava. I think Justin in particular, you were in that session. So it was really nice like having my production support team there too.
Yeah, Justin, did you want to comment, chime in?
Yeah, certainly one of the biggest assets of participating in Crazy8s is the mentorship that you get. Watching Hannah evolve the script through that like intensive day process and then the meetups afterwards was really cool. Yeah, it's such a tricky line in this process between like as a either a new or emerging creative to like stick to your original vision that you get, or consider like all this onslaught of notes that you're getting from like your friends, the mentors, your other fellow filmmakers. And so I guess yeah, the only thing that one of the things I have to say is that yeah, stick to your guns. If your original vision, you have it. Um, take all the notes in consideration, but still keep it your own. Like don't lose sight of that initial vision. And I think Hannah kept that really strong throughout. So that's always the mark of a good project.
Well, Ava, did you have anything to add?
yeah, I think like in both in all the times that I've now been part of Crazy8s, I feel like the thing that has most benefited the director, like myself included, in 2023 was like having a mentor or having someone that's done the process before. Because like when I did it in 2023, Stephanie Isaac, who did consumer, gave me like lots of great advice. And then like I helped later Jess McLeod with like DTF. And then I was able to bring some of that knowledge. Like once I was fully on board for Top 40, I was able to help Hannah like come up with ideas kind of for the pitch and stuff. So I feel like having people that have done it before that like can give advice that are maybe not doing it like that current year is like really beneficial. It definitely helped me my first year, and I hope that it was helpful for you, Hannah, just like me having like gone through it and bringing some ideas to you of what I think that the jury would enjoy.
Absolutely.
Cool. And because just mindful of the time, but I would love to hear from both of you, Ava and Justin, as producers. What would attract you to Crazy8s project? You know, like we know that the Crazy8s timeline is actually really crazy, and producers, you guys are pulling, you guys are worth your weight in insert noun of precious metal here. But that being said, it's not like, you know, there are producers hanging from every tree or anything. So like, what would make you want to do a Crazy8s project? Just in case anyone that's here might want to reach out to you guys.
For me, I am at a point in my career because of everything Crazy8s has like done for me where I like exclusively like taking on projects that have a ridiculous challenge like associated with it. Like I loved the idea of getting an intersection. Like I just thought that was such a fun challenge, and so many people were concerned about our team and were like, I don't know, like maybe you should do virtual production, maybe you should do this, but like I was very, very determined on getting Hannah like what she wanted. And I feel like that's like a big reason why I wanted to do this project, like even when like it was just a short film and not necessarily a Crazy8s. It was just like the an intersection, having someone run through it, and then all these other locations that we've looked into so many. Like the locations challenge of it, I think was honestly super fun. And of course, the chance to meet workers, because I think in Vancouver independent film, people can get trapped in the cycle of like working with the same people over and over and over and over again. And so this is really nice because maybe some recent film school graduates that are like volunteering for the first time can get their start and you can build a relationship, or some like more experienced people that you've never had the chance to work with, or gear houses that you've never worked with, you'll get the chance to like meet them. And so like now I want to work with Justin and Hannah on everything. Like the experience with them was so positive and like really like just a boost of positivity for me, especially after doing like a very long feature project the year before, which was just like it consumed my whole year, and like I'm very proud of it, but it was long, you know, so it's like it's nice to also do something that's like short and fun and with different as well, I would say.
Justin?
I think what attracts me to a project is if the story feels like it can't be told by anyone else. Like if you have a log line and a story in mind that you think a fellow filmmaker could also kind of do, it's not strong enough. Like it has to be so like intrinsic to your identity, and your life experience doesn't have to be like your you know, like your race or your sexual orientation. It just has to be really unique to you. Like say, like for me, I've worked on boats for my whole life. So I leaned into that and leaned into things that I experienced in my life to make that short. And Hannah, obviously with hers, it's very important to her upbringing. So yeah, just really hone the log line. You know, if you think someone else can make a version that's like yours, you gotta hone in a little further. So yeah.
Well, you heard it here first, guys. This is what like a couple of pretty capable producers, that's what would make them possibly consider your project. So there you go. If you guys are at liberty to divulge at all, like where might someone possibly expect to see Red Light Rebel next? If you can say, if you can't, no worries.
We can't really say yet. We're still waiting on a bunch of festival announcements for the winter.
Got you. But you know, that is cool. That means it's all in the process. And yeah, we hope to be able to see Red Light Rebel at a theater near us very soon. And let's check out the trailer now for Red Light Rebel. Thanks, guys. See you at the group Q&A.
Avoid the collision on Hollow Street near Pooverton. Safe driving and God bless.
Follow your whim. Lord Brighton.
Grace, are you there? Grace, we can't hear you or see you.
Oh, no way. Oh my
There we
God.
go.
Okay, here we go. Sorry, guys. Tech issues, completely my doing. Next up, we have Team Headcase. It's amazing. We have the director, both co-writers, and like both lead producers here with us, which is awesome. Thank you all so much for joining us for this. And before we kick this off, let's start with the video pitch that has Spence and Pat in it.
Hello, my name is Spencer Zimmerman, the writer and director.
And I'm Pat Mooney, the writer and actor in
Where Is My Head? Where Is My Head is a romantic black comedy about Karen, who goes by her stage name Kylie. She's a wannabe influencer whose desperate quest for online validation has left her chronically unable to experience real, genuine emotions. So much so, in fact, that while filming a food tour TikTok in her car, she runs over a cyclist, killing him instantly, and instead of feeling any kind of remorse, she does what years of freebasing true crime podcasts has taught her. She dismembers the body and hides the pieces around town.
As she disposes of the last piece, the head, she wishes it farewell when, in a surreal twist, the head comes to life and talks to her. After getting over the initial shock, the head tells her he's remorseful. He never took the time to explore the town that he grew up in. Feeling guilty, Kylie offers to show him around one last time and do the thing that she does best: romanticize her shitty small town.
As Kylie slowly begins to bond with Brad, she realizes that what's actually meaningful to her is her wonderfully strange connection with him. Kylie reveals her true name, Karen, which he tells her is the most beautiful name he's ever heard. This genuinely moves her, and she finally feels real love for the first time. She tells Brad she's done with social media, she's found something so much more meaningful with him.
As the two begin to make out passionately, reality comes crashing down when a SWAT team kicks in the door to find Kylie making out with a disgusting, rotten head. We're ripped out of a surreal story into a cold, harsh reality. Kylie's arrested on the spot for murder. She screams out for Brad, tears streaming down her face, completely inconsolable.
But as she's paraded past the circus of TV news cameras, flash, a light bulb literally goes off. Kylie turns to the reporters, who are all clamoring for some sort of statement, and a smile slowly grows across her face as she realizes that, in the most fucked up and backwards way possible, her dream of becoming famous has finally come true.
What are our themes, Spencer?
Well, the film follows really the pursuit of fame at all costs and how that contributes to this loneliness epidemic we find ourselves in the age of social media, and how social media distorts reality in this very, very surreal way.
You might be wondering why us, while we're not budding social media stars. I am an actor, and we want to take a scathing jab at the corrosive pursuit of fame while addressing the very real need for validation that creates it.
Tonally, it feels like If Death Becomes Her was directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. It's very surreal and kind of over the top, but it also maintains an artful distance to our characters, never indulging too fully.
We've both been producing independent short films for over a decade. We've always found ways of pulling massive production out of a tiny budget. We've made shorts both big and small, and we can't wait to show you how we are going to nail this.
Whoa. Team Headcase. So seriously, this is a great example of how literally a talking heads, no pun intended, but you know, if the the hat fits, yeah. And I know you have a cap on right now, Spence. We keep trying to we tell people every year, you can do just a talking heads pitch video and totally have it like advance through the quarterfinals, like on the strength of the pitch. And sometimes people don't believe us, but this is a great example of when it did work. Yeah. So now that all of you guys are on the line, what made you decide to pitch to Crazy8s? I guess because it's Spence and Pat on there. Spence and Pat, if you want to comment.
Yeah. Is my mic on? I haven't seen that
Yes.
video since we made it. Like, I'm sitting here embarrassed watching it. It's so funny. Um, Honestly, like I was kind of over pitching Crazy8s by the time we did this, which I know sounds bad, but I had done a few pitches and I hadn't gotten through. I hadn't even gotten to top 40, and I was just like, nah, fuck it. I'm not doing that. And then Pat was like, who I'd been wanting to make something with for a long time, came to me and was like, hey, I really think we should do this. And we were like, okay, we got to do it. This is like too good of an idea not to do. Let's just go for it. And we just kind of hustled and put it together on like like a single night, and just kind of like threw caution to the wind and just tried to make something that we really wanted to make, and see made into the world. Pat, I don't really know where the idea came from you. Like you kind of the initial concept of it, I don't know. Where did that come from?
I think it just came from musings of mine, like, it'd be funny if a head, like someone was stuck with a human head and they just became friends with it. And I had that thought or something like that, and then just started pulling on that thread. Yeah.
Cool. You know what? A lot of people also find even the idea of making a 3-minute video pretty daunting. So it's very cool that you guys, you know, banged it out in the course of an evening, you guys said. So it is possible. I mean, mind you, I'm not asking how many hours you'll spent on it, but yeah, it is possible to do. So, you know, if anyone out
And I,
there
I
is
actually I'm pretty proud of the fact that we didn't do anything. It was just us sitting there talking. And I think from like the standpoint of like what that focuses you on, we just spent the entire time we were working on it just working on the story. We didn't work on like thinking about how to make the video fun. So I think that helped us do that, or kind of get the tightest story we possibly could have. Not that it's bad to not do that. Like obviously it works really, really well to do an actual pitch. We just didn't have the time to do that, but we were focused only on the story, which was helpful in our case.
Yeah, totally. And also in the experience of Crazy8s, we found that to be the case as well, that the more well acquainted, shall we say, you are with what your story and what you want to tell, and also why you should tell it, then the more the better you guys come across, and that does come across in your pitch video. So I'd say yes to all that. Uh, and you've just answered what was going to be my next question, which was how did you come up with the concept and structure for your video pitch? But did you have anything else to add to that in the sense that, you know, like say if there's anyone out there that maybe does want to pitch with someone else, like in the room with them as well, how did you guys figure out who was going to say what? Did you have cards? Like, what did you do?
Well, if you look at the video really, really carefully, you can see us reading a laptop screen underneath the camera.
Yeah, you see me panicked as the dialogue went past where the screen was, and I subtly reached forward and scroll up.
I think we just broke it down into like chunks that felt fair. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll do the first one, and you do the next one, and I'll do this one. I don't think there was anything more complicated than that behind it. But there was like we did have to make a decision because we tried doing this pitch for like an hour, and we like kept running it over and over, and we couldn't get under 3 minutes, and so we had to cut like a big chunk about how we were going to pull it off, which I was kind of nervous about doing because it's obviously such a weird, like technical, complicated movie. And then but we had to be like, we've made stuff before, you got to believe in us. And let that carry us.
Uh, just so you know, that is also something that can help your case. Like if you've done this before, like it's totally a thing. That was something that in the Red Light Rebel pitch video as well, that was part of it as well. It's like, yeah, I've done films that include X, Y, and Z thing. So that is also a valid thing to include in your video. So you guys didn't like get rid of entirely the why we should be the ones to do it. So that definitely helped your case. Yeah. So
And
that is
and
good.
that also became really important later on, like in like the other pitches. Like we made sure to like really hit that because we kind of missed it a little off the jump. Like, yes, we know how to do this.
Which rolls really nicely into what is my next question. How did your team prepare for the in-person pitch? Siobhan, do you want to give that a go? Or Jess, I'm
Yeah.
not sure if you already, yeah.
Jess wasn't with us just yet, but in our hearts she was. But I think the main thing that we were looking at was like, what are the issues? I know that like one of the main things if I'm doing any pitch is just put the issues up front, and because you know that the people listening are sitting there being like, well, what about this? What about this? And they're sort of ranking in their mind of how it's going to work. So if you can sort of preempt as much as we could, while still getting the story across and trusting and believing that if we weren't able to fit in some of those things and they were pretty critical, that we could that they would ask us. But also just thinking of like one of the things was the head and like how we were going to do the effects, and so being like, okay, well, we want it to be a lot of it practical because we won't have the time for all the visual effects, and we've got this connection that we could potentially make work here. So just sort of preempting a lot of that stuff and then flagging all the connections that we could maybe reach out to make it work.
Okay.
But on that same note, on the other side of it, I kind of made a point of trying to be like, we were prepared in that we knew the answers, but I tried to be as unrehearsed as possible. I don't know if you guys remember, we were like rehearsing it on the day, and I was like, no, leave me out of it. I don't want to do it. We did it a few times, and I'm glad we did. But
which Spencer loves. He loves
Yeah.
going and being like, no, let's keep it jazzy and fresh. And I'm like, I need to know what to say, buddy. So yeah.
But what it did help was like, it helps be like, give you the ability to pivot if you need to, because if you're too stuck to a script, like I do need to do it. I'm not saying I just like whip it out of nowhere. I do need to do a certain amount of preparation, but like if you are too stuck to a script, it's kind of hard to like be able to pivot. So the more you can understand like conceptually what you're talking about and like know kind of the playbook of all the points rather than like a scripted speech, it kind of really helps when you need to be flexible in the room.
Cool. So you guys kind of rehearsed and kind of prepared, and then on the day you kind of went.
Yeah, we made sure that like for those who like to be prepped, like knew what their topics were going to be, who was going to take what questions, and we just kind of like split it up that way as to like who's the expert or who do we default to on this point, who's the person to talk to on this part of it, and kind of let it flow from there.
That's a great note because sometimes, and they, you know, and certainly Jayme can provide more insight into this, but sometimes the question period with the jury is almost as important as your actual pitch itself. And if there's, you know, if there's any uncertainty in terms of who should answer what, sometimes that comes off as something else. That comes off as bad. Yeah. So you guys actually, yeah, no, that's great. This is very much like, you know, whenever you watch documentaries about bands and stuff, this is kind of how it's like. How do you make the recipe for an awesome band? You have a bunch of people who know what they're doing and are good at what they do, and they come together and they bring their perspective and their thing into it. And then you guys end up making what you guys make. Yeah. No, thank you for sharing those insights. So specifically now for the writers, so that would be Spence and Pat. Oh, could you maybe just like share a little bit about your co-writing process? Because again, many people do want to write with someone else, but they're never really sure how that works, or, you know, so how did you guys make it work?
So neither Pat nor I had ever co-written. Well, actually, Pat, I don't know if you had co-written before. I had never co-written with anyone before. So it was just like a brand new experience, kind of figuring out where, so, you know, one person steps in and another person doesn't. And we're still figuring it out. But I think where we kind of landed is like we would sit down and both collaborate on like the outline of the thing. And we kind of figured out pretty early on like where our strengths were. Like in the case of Pat and I, Pat is so good at just like coming up with ideas. He just like fires them off like nothing. I'm envious of his ability to just like spontaneously come up with scenes. And then what I think I'm good at is kind of drilling into those things and kind of interrogating them from like a dramaturgical perspective and being like, okay, how does this fit into this moment? How does this fit into this moment? How are we making sure we're like servicing the arc? And then kind of the nittier grittier like execution-y things, which also kind of extends into directing. So it actually worked really well where I guess, yeah, if that makes sense. Does that feel right to you, Pat?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head as far as like kind of like where each of us took the lead. And I think that that organically happened over the writing process. We both kind of realized, yeah, okay, this works like this. And yeah, I think also if anyone's co-writing, I'd say if the person that you're writing with comes to you and says, I want to change this, say yes, because you can always go back. You know, like always explore. If someone says there's a thread here we haven't pulled, just always say yes and explore it, because you can always go back to the previous draft. So
Yeah.
that'd be...
Yeah, and there definitely has to be a certain amount of trust between writers, and that, you know, it can be hard, especially if you haven't worked with someone before. Like we didn't really know how this was going to work out when we started, but we just had to trust that you knew what you were doing and I knew what I was doing, and that we kind of like had each other's backs and kind of, you know, sometimes when you hear a pitch, you're like not 100% sure on it, and you just got to let somebody run with it until they like pull through. Yeah.
So just to speak a little bit to that relationship, just really quickly, yourself and Pat, like you obviously knew each other prior to that, and had you worked together at all, or and just hadn't co-written together?
We had been trying to work together for a long time. I had worked with Siobhan on like the last 3 films that I had made as an actor. And like it was always like an amazing experience. And I knew Pat because like we had actually, Pat, technically you were on the first movie too. But I had known you guys and I'd wanted to work with Pat for a long time. And then we had another project we were going to do, and then it kind of fell through and you weren't able to do it. And then so this was like I'd just been like itching to do something with you and with the 2 of you guys together specifically, because there's to have 2 like to have your 2 actors also be like the writer and the producer of the movie it is like so incredibly helpful to just be able to just like talk about everything from like a holistic standpoint of like, okay, we have to pull this thing off. How do we do it? I don't have to go and like talk to this actor and convince him to do it. You guys are just like part of it, and you guys just wanted to like make it happen. And also you guys are both phenomenal actors. So I don't know, it was Pat had a lot to bring to the table. And I was excited to get to work with that.
Okay, yeah, no, that actually dovetails really nicely into my next question, which will be pretty much the last one for you guys until the group Q&A, because mindful of time. But several of you on here have worn more than one hat. Could you maybe just share with everyone here like how you made that work? Producing is where angels fear to tread, and being one of the lead actors, that's another, like, and it was a very emotionally. So Siobhan, like you produced and acted, you know, like Pat, you wrote and acted, and Spence, you directed and wrote. Maybe in that order, just like quickly let us know like how you made that work.
Yeah, I think the most important thing was making sure that we had a full and don't know what the word is, but like excellent communication in our producing team. So Jess was our next person that we brought on, and I know Jess from back in Melbourne. Jess knows my work as a producer and as an actor, and we just have a great shorthand. And it was always really important to us with the entire team that we just all gelled together really well. So I just had complete trust that when I needed to hand it over, I would be able to, and I knew that Jess would, we also had Vanessa Wakely and Brooke as well helping out with producing. So we had quite a number, but I knew that everything that was going on at a certain point I could hand over to Jess. There was a date in the calendar where I was not allowed to do anything anymore, and I had to fight myself mostly to like honor that date, because it's hard. It's you know, there's something really satisfying about producing your like tick boxing, you know, whereas acting is a lot more intangible. You don't have that same feeling of like I've completed the thing until the scene's done. In regards to it's also tough, like who I am as a producer is very different to how I feel as an actor. So I feel like I'm quite like direct and down the line and quite like cut and dry as a producer. But once I start being like, okay, now I'm got to start acting, I get a little bit more sensitive. And so just knowing that like I'm producing this thing and I'm starting to like open up my emotionality and like being more vulnerable, and then being like, but that is not actually real. Do not allow that to like step in. So like allowing myself to be emotional and be a sane producer, like that's probably the more difficult thing. And having an awesome team on your side to support with that is like that's all you need. You need backup, and we had a great team, so it was easy. And I also went to a good friend of mine, Shane Savage from Sonda Acting Studios, to like just run my scenes as an actor and be like, worst case scenario, I'm in my head, I'm worried about this timeline that's going on, I'm producer brain won't shut off. Can I manufacture my scenes? You know, if it's not happening inside of me, can I make it work? So that I can not worry about that as well. And so I just sort of like preempted all my concerns and then let myself be free. And it worked that time.
Copy that. Jess, like if you're still on, like I'm going to ask you after how you wrangled all of this as pretty much like one of the only producers on this. But before that, Pat, you go.
I had a great time because my roles were pretty segmented. Like by the time it was time for me to start prepping for filming, my writing journey had almost kind of petered off because it got to the point where Spencer and I were co-writing, and then it got to a point where really it was a director's job. And so I kind of like, I was still available as a resource, but I kind of had to hand it over to him and be like, you understand everything that's happening now way more than me. And we kind of almost pretty much finished the script. We were kind of tweaking it right up to it, but that gave me a good break to be able to take off one hat and put on the other. But this is, I think, maybe my first time. No, it's not my first time writing and acting in it, but it was at the size of this production. It was, so it was a really good experience. I loved it. I think if anyone's thinking of doing it, like acting in it and writing, if you're going to do a pitch, get a co-writer. As if you're going to wear both hats, because it was nice to take one off and be able to put on the other, as opposed to have to wear both throughout it.
Okay.
Yeah, happy days.
Spence.
Oh, I mean, writing and directing are so like this that it's hard to separate them as jobs. Because I always kind of felt like my part of my job was from the beginning as a writer to kind of inflect the story and script with kind of the sensibility of like, what is the tone, what is the like the kind of execution of the thing, how do we make this idea like interesting and cool and pull it off in a way that feels unique, which obviously is a big part of writing but is also a big part of directing. So it really was just like, it just felt like one action the whole way through. Probably the biggest like break was once we kind of got um out of like prep and like into like actually like shooting the movie was probably the biggest kind of like and you know, it had been a long time since I had been on set directing. I think it probably had been like 5 years. And so at that point it was just about knowing that we had put in so much work and everybody kind of knew what they were doing, and I just had to like keep following along the path that we had made, and just trust in my instincts and that I knew where we were going.
Okay. Yeah. You've just described like some pretty good coping mechanisms that helped you guys get through. Let's hear from Jess. Like, how did you wrangle all the cats?
It doesn't happen in isolation, and it happens with a great team and great communication, and it happens with delegating and trust, and then staying organized and just trying to make sure everyone's hitting what they need to hit, and when they can.
Okay. Did you find it to be a little more challenging jumping on board at the time that you did, which it sounds like you had jumped on maybe around the time of the story development or after that?
I came on board when the team got into top 12, so after 40, which I totally respect. So that was a good time to come in, I think. Any earlier, and it's kind of like getting your hopes up, and what if you don't get into top 12? So that was a good time. And some advice we were given at that point was to work as if you are going to shoot the movie, which I think is really, really good advice. Because by the time we got into top 6, it's only 6 weeks of prep, which is a good amount of time, but we had a very ambitious project. So preparing as much as we could to a point in terms of finding crew, scheduling, budgeting, starting to look for locations, doing as much as we could before we got to that top 6. That was, I think, really crucial for us and really helped us preparing as much as we could, to the point that it made sense.
Cool. And I know that you guys had like a fairly large production team, I think. Would you recommend that? The more the merrier, or fewer the better?
No, not the more the merrier. You know what? It was really interesting watching that pitch video, and it was really fun watching Spencer react to it as well. I'm not gonna lie, but it changed a lot from what it originally was to what it ended up being, and the production value of it expanded from what it originally was to what it ended up being. So as a producer, that was definitely nerve-wracking as that happened, but we managed it and we made it work. As a producer, I wanted to keep things as small as possible. But when you get to a certain level, you just have to have people to help you manage that. But it's also about finding the right people that you can communicate with, that you can work with, and that you can also trust to do the job, and do the job well, and just get it done.
Cool. Great note. It's not just about warm bodies. Get the right people for those
Yes.
jobs and people that you trust. Right.
It's all about the right people. And if it's not the right people, then it's a struggle in many ways.
Right. And also it's great for other people to hear as well that as a producer, you can jump on a little bit later on in the process and still have it like work relatively seamlessly, which is great, because I feel that sometimes people are like, well, if I wasn't on from the very beginning, then I don't know anything. And it's like, nope, that's not necessarily the case at all. In that case, final question before we hit your trailer is, where can we see Headcase next?
I'll go. Edmonton.
Sorry.
Edmonton International Film Festival, and then Chilliwack.
Cool. Awesome. See you guys at the group Q&A, and let's play the Headcase trailer. Thank you all.
Hi, Sweet Pea, Mom again. I'm sorry to keep calling. I know how busy you are with your content. It's just, I looked into this agent thing, and I don't think you're supposed to be paying him until he's gotten you a job, and I'm sorry. We both want you to succeed with the social media thing. I know it's important to you. We just miss you. Love you. Call us back, okay?
Thanks, you guys. Yeah, so we did have a Crazy8s video pitch to schedule Leslie Corbett, but she is traveling and she was unable to make it for the session. She did leave some notes like the top 3 do's and top 3 don'ts, but being mindful of the time, what we'll do is we can email them out to all of the participants like after the fact. And also, Leslie was doing a Q&A for our 2024 info session, and that is available on our YouTube channel. So I think she's at around the 1 hour and 12-minute mark of that. So if you go to our YouTube /Crazy8s film, and pick the registration and info session playlist, 2024, Leslie Corbett's Q&A with us is there. And if you have any questions at all, please also email us at info@crazy8s.film. So next up is Jayme Pfahl. He is also on the Crazy8s board and is a producer and senior instructor at VFS. He is, I think he's, 8 years now, I think. Jayme has been a live pitch juror for Crazy8s. And he has been involved with the film industry for at least 25 years. So he has extensive production experience and also extensive jury experience. And we're very honored to have him here with us today. Thanks, Jayme.
No problem.
Yeah, that being the case, I guess, it's really all about how all of this experience feeds into how you juror. As a juror, what do you look for in a live pitch?
Excitement, for sure. We're really looking for enthusiasm, energy when they come into the room. We're watching. We're being pitched 40 projects in a day and a half. So there's a lot. It's all back to back with some breaks. So getting our attention, I think, is really, really important. And how do you tell your story? And I think every story is a little bit different, how you present it. So spending some time figuring out how you're going to get our attention in the first 10 to 15 seconds. What's going to hook us right away so that we're instantly paying attention and we're not sort of distracted by, I don't know, our watches or phones, whatever else. Because it is very easily to sort of drift and sort of get distracted. And if we're not immediately connecting to the people in the room, I think that there definitely is a disconnect that is hard to sort of get beyond. Even though you only have 5 minutes, you really do need to make that impact when you come in. And every story is different, so it's not that there's a right or a wrong way, or I don't think I can even give you any, like, what you should do or not do, but think about how you would, what can we get excited about right away?
Okay. Well, that being said, are there any top three do's? Not necessarily don'ts, but any top 3 do's?
I've got lots of don'ts. Top 3 do's.
We can get into the don'ts after. But
okay. Yeah. Because I think some of the do's go into the do's, really, quite honestly. I'm not trying to be negative.
Yeah, for sure. No.
No, top 3 do's is tell your story. And I think I was sort of talking about that, like how do you introduce it? But when we go into the pitch, or when we're in there watching you guys pitch, we have no idea what the story is. It's completely cold. So you're coming into the room. I think sometimes some of the groups think that we've been prepped or that we might have seen the pitch videos. We do not see the pitch videos. I'm sure we could if we were asked, but it's never been part of the process. So it's really, really a cold sort of story. So never assume we know anything. Never assume that we've, sort of been sort of prepped a little bit about it. It is really something that's fresh as soon as you walk into the room. We have no idea what to expect. And so I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind.
Okay. That being said, then what are some top don'ts?
Which again go into the do's. Reading. Do not read your material when you come in. If you come in and you've got papers, and we have had pitches like that, again, we don't see the pitch video, so obviously there was something in the pitch video that spoke to the jurors, as well as the story. But then you come in, I know you're nervous. Sometimes people haven't really have done a lot of pitching in front of people before. But you come in and you start to read stuff. As a juror, you get completely disengaged immediately. It's like, this is your story. You should be excited. You should be able to, come in and maybe entertain isn't the right word, but entertain us for 5 minutes. So reading it really sort of makes it feel like you could have sent anybody in to do the pitch. And I think that's not really the purpose of the pitch. The purpose of the pitch is for us to really get to know you in that very short period of time, know a little bit about your project, and to sort of feel like, yes, we want to see this get made. And we believe that you are the team or the creator or the director, writer that is going to get this done authentically.
Copy that.
Yeah.
So in terms of the question period, then we've been trying to emphasize to teams over the past few years that prepare some answers to some potential questions ahead of time, because the question period can be sometimes just as important, can weigh just as importantly on the jury decision as the pitch itself. Could you speak to any questions that you say typically would find important to ask?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's oddly enough story. And I know, Grace, it's been only in the last couple of years that we've had the script sort of process that goes through a bit earlier. But I certainly know sometimes that it feels like there is unresolved beats in the story. And it doesn't mean that the story is not in development and that the story is not going to change. But at this moment in time, you should be able to authentically talk about your story and be able to talk about the characters if we have questions about it, because it didn't come very clear in the pitch. I also think logistics. We know you're not that, there's 40 people groups coming in. We know that you're not the top 12, but I think we're also expecting, if there is complicated logistics, that you have an answer for it. Maybe you haven't nailed this down, but do you have a way or have at least thought about this? So when we ask questions about, locations or casting or, how are you going to pull this off? Do you have an answer? And then one thing I would say is you should always have an answer. Always. Even if you haven't thought about it before, you should make something up. Honestly, like, we're probably not going to remember, a day from there, whatever, but in the moment for you to say, I don't know, I haven't really thought about that, I have no idea how that would work, I think that's a worse answer than just on the fly going, you know what, this is what we would do. And we go, wow, that's great. Whereas opposed, you're going there like, yeah, we have no idea. It's like, okay, that's not really going to work for us. And I know you don't have it nailed down. So I don't think that we're going to hold you to that. But I think it's really important that you sort of be able to bounce and be able to sort of give us the idea that at least you're thinking about those things and you have thought about those things at the end of the day.
Okay, that's really valuable insight for the folks here in terms of, say, like, if you can address this without giving away the farm. There have been times where the jury will have a lively discussion about should we advance one project, this project versus that project, which is going to get into the top 6. And if it really comes down to it, everything else being equal, you guys have talked about it, what would tip the scale for you? Like what aspect of which project or team would tip the scale for you? Just generally.
Yeah, you mean as the jury as a whole or for me personally?
Because
I think there might be two different.
There are two different things. Yeah. So I think for the jury as a whole, like in your experience, not only as jury with Crazy8s, but in many other instances as well. Yeah. What do you feel are usually the things that will tip it? Yeah.
I think it's and not that you have to have your whole team, but it's sort of understanding that you can pull this off. So does the team have the capabilities of pulling this off? Do we feel that they've got, again, people are here for the experience. So we don't expect people to have, a gigantic resume, but sort of, do we feel if they were given this possibility, would they be able to make it happen? So I think there's a lot of discussion about that around the table, sort of their past work potentially, or just who else they partner with, who their producer is, who their director is, who their writer with. So I know that that definitely comes into play. For me, I feel really strongly about story because I think story, it's got to be entertaining, it's got to be interesting. You're thinking about an audience, the Crazy8s gala, and then going into distribution, is there an audience that this is going to speak to at the end of the day? Because one of the great things about, and again, I'm not disregarding the team because I think it's super important as well, and it definitely is part of our discussion. But I also think that, what Crazy8s helps is really introduce you to a lot of people that are going to want to work on your show that you won't even know and haven't met yet. Which is one of the great things of sort of being able to network and, people wanting to become part of this process. So, sometimes the fact that you don't have, all of that experience or have that team already with you, for me personally, I'm going to fight for a really great story. Because I think that's what it should be at the end of the day. And part of our mandate, again, is new filmmakers. So, let's see what they have to do. And they've got some support here for sure. So through Crazy8s.
Okay. In terms of, and just real quick, just the final thing, in terms of doability, given that the Crazy8s timeline really is crazy, and it's 3 shooting days and 5 post days, how in your experience as a juror, like how important is that to the jury's final decision in terms of who makes it to top 6?
I think that it depends on how crazy your idea is at the end of the day. Because
No pun.
yeah, no pun intended. It's because if somebody comes in with something that's completely seems on paper or in the pitch undoable, it's really hard to say yes to that project because again, it is a really, really tight turnaround. And sometimes it's just really small things. And I don't remember the name of the project, so I do apologize to the filmmakers, but this was quite a few years ago. And it did go through and it did get made. But one of the pitches came through and it was sort of a Indiana Jones kind of project that was set in a cave. And we're all like, yeah, caves, really? Like, no, that's what? But they had a cave. There was a set that existed. I don't know if it still exists at the time that they had already spoken to, had access to, that they were, potentially able to shoot in. So from a logistics point of view, it comes in. It was a great pitch. It was really exciting, but then it was like, how are you going to pull this off? Like, this just seems impossible, especially in a short period of time. And they had a really, really great answer. They had done the footwork, even though they were the top 40. Probably, I'm assuming, knowing that that might be one of the, sort of the setbacks that are hurdles that they would have to get over. So, I think there's general logistics. Every project's super complicated. Nothing is easy. But when you've got something that's very specifically unusual, it doesn't mean that it can't be pulled off. But I think you have to give us something that makes us feel that, you've got the beginning of a plan, so that we sort of feel confident if we're going to put you forward to the top 12 and then the top 6.
Copy that. Thank you, Jayme, for this like super valuable insight for everyone. Like I'm sure everyone was like bated breath and stuff. So we
Can I
could
add
like
2 things?
okay, more things. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing when you guys come in as teams, you have a one sheet that you give us. I can't emphasize how important that one sheet is and that it should really give us a sense of the project. Because when you leave, and again, we have 40 projects, when we're getting down to our final deliberation, and it isn't always clear who the top 12 is by any stretch of the imagination. So a lot of it is what we're doing is we're going back not only to our notes, but what you left behind for us to reference again. And if it's a 8.5 by 11 page that's got typing on it, yeah, the information might be there, but it might not be sort of what gets us re-excited, sort of about the project at the end of the day. So I can't emphasize how important that is as well. We don't really reference it while we're in the pitch, but afterwards it becomes a very key part of how we remember the project as well beyond, sort of our notes at the end of the day. And then I just want to say also about the script when you are the top 12 getting into, the final choice is that sometimes great pitches deliver a really crappy script. And pitches that we were, maybe 50-50 on, the script comes in, it's amazing. So I mean, I think everybody knows the script's super important, and your writers are super important, but it really, you really do need to nail home that draft that gets delivered in January when you've got the top 12, because at that point it's not about the pitch anymore. It's now about what's on the page. And I sort of feel sometimes that I mean, I can't speak for the teams, but I sort of feel sometimes like they've sort of like, well, we had a great pitch, and so we're going to sort of slide through on a great story. But if the script doesn't live up to that, it's not going to get through to the top 6.
Those are both like super excellent, great notes, Jayme, and thank you for adding those and pushing those through, because it's true. Certainly, as long as I've worked with Crazy8s, I've also tried to 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 help make sure that story gets emphasized as well, and script development gets emphasized. Because at the end of the day, we're telling stories, and you can pad it with a lot of bells and whistles, but
It's true.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's true. It's true. And it is true as well that when it really comes down to it, it is about what is on the page. I've seen this many times myself in terms of you guys' process. So please, everyone, the sooner you have that full script, full treatment, the better. And please take the biggest advantage. If you make it to top 12, take the biggest advantage you can of the story development period. And yeah, like we'll just roll right into the group Q&A, welcoming everyone back, like Matthew, Hannah, Ava, Justin, Spence, Pat, Siobhan, Jess, and Jayme's already here. And all of you who are still on Zoom with us, thank you for sticking it out. We're just gonna go through, okay, yeah, I've got the Q&A thing open in front of me. Okay, so the first question is, what did you film your video pitch on, and how did you include the insert shots? What did you edit on? Anyone from Team Red Light Rebel want to respond to this?
Yeah, I
And
can speak
Headcase
to
after?
that.
Yeah.
So I think I shot it on a Blackmagic, and I used DaVinci Resolve to edit it, the free version, because I'm cheap. And for the photos, like you can YouTube like how to superimpose still photos and like video clips onto your timeline. So yeah, and like those clips were obviously just cutaways from my shorts. Yeah.
Okay. Team Headcase?
We filmed our pitch on my laptop.
Copy. Did you have were you labbed or anything?
No, it was just the built-in microphone, as basic as it could possibly be. We
Okay.
did I think we just made sure we were like well lit, like in a place that had lights that were on that didn't look terrible on our face.
Got you. Did you, I don't see a whole lot of editing in it, but if you did, like, what did you use?
Well, I don't know if this is allowed, but we're here now. We sped up by like 0.1 of a second our video just because we couldn't figure out how to get our pitch under time. And I don't know if that's allowed. And you could say if it's not allowed, and no one else is allowed to do it.
No. You guys are allowed to do it because all we say is it's got to be a maximum runtime of 3 minutes, as long as we could still understand what you were saying. As long as we heard you and saw you, I think it's okay. So everyone,
There was
you
a
heard.
there was a
Yeah.
there was a fine line though, because if we sped it up too much, it just started like clipping, like the audio just got like bad. Like it didn't sound too fast, it just sounded like glitchy and wrong. So if you're
Also a
gonna
good
do it,
note. Yeah. So if anyone out there is thinking of doing that, bear in mind it's very tricky, and definitely, don't just submit it like that. Like definitely do your QC, right? Otherwise. Okay, so the next question. Just a point of interest, have there been examples of past Crazy8s projects that were able to recoup cost in a way that's outside of festival prizes, or able to find a distribution deal? If so, could Crazy8s share an example? Yes. There have been several. Like every year, Crazy8s does have to pay UBCP residuals, and what that means is the cost, at least on paper, whatever was submitted when you put in your ultra low budget agreement paperwork, that cost has been recouped. I can think, yes. So there was a film in 2017 called Cypher. So this is a good example, I guess, from way back then, 2017 called Cypher, that has definitely been able to not only recoup its cost, but is also making a little like out of licensing fees from OTT platforms. And I think the secret, well, it's not really a secret, but the trick when it comes to short films, to recouping and making any money from short films beyond festival awards, is really to the slow trickle. Cypher, for example, has been picked up like pretty much ever since it got past its festival window. So past like 2019 or so, it has been available on streaming somewhere. And some of those platforms actually renewed the license as well, like for that same film. So I guess that means that they found it to be profitable on their end too. And depending on the kind of deal that you make, sometimes you get a little bit on the back end as well, like out of the deal, and not just a straight licensing fee. So that is an example of something that's relatively recent that was able to do it. Bearing in mind that we always do give at least a 2-year festival window. So during that time, we're not selling the film to any particular distributor necessarily, unless it's like unless you guys really aren't worried about that at all. Then if you aren't, then let us know. So next question, if you're a first-time writer who wants to direct your film and you don't know any crew, how can you find them to do a live pitch? Does anyone from either Red Light Rebel or Headcase or both like to take this on?
Really good.
Yeah, Hannah?
So I think when you're a newbie, and if you're writing, especially, what you have going for you is like the heart of your story, because it doesn't matter, like, if you know how to write using cell text, or it doesn't, like, things like that are secondary. But if you have a really good story, I think you can attract the right people. And like, I'm a big fan of like joining communities, like Facebook communities, Instagram, because that's how I started, like, fresh in this industry. I would just like cold message people on their posts and be like, do you need help? Like, I'm willing to learn, get to know a film set, and kind of like fill that gap in knowledge. So putting in that work to like understand the world a little bit better and start building those relationships, it's never too late, even when you're like in the middle of pitching. And then, yeah, like putting out like cold calls.
If I could add to that, I also think it's really important when you're crewing to be crewing, like, you want to be working with good people. You want to be working with like your friends, honestly. You don't want, even if somebody is like a really like hot DP who's like done like 10 Crazy8s and they've done a lot of stuff, like they might not care about your thing. You want somebody who like will care to do a good job, even if they don't have a lot of credits and even if they don't have a lot of like laurels. You just want somebody who you like to be with and work with and who gets you. And sometimes that's your friend and it's somebody who has no idea what they're doing. They've never been in film before. That can be okay. They just have to want to do it. And I think that's like what, when you're starting out, you can get really hung up on that, but I think you should focus on like building those people up with you and finding the people who are near you already who want to be in this with you and like helping each other go through it. I think one of the best networking pieces of advice I've ever heard is that you don't really like, don't try and network upwards, network laterally. Like, there are people around you, I guarantee, who want to do stuff that you want to do, even if you guys aren't at that level yet. You just have to find them and find good people.
One way I would put it, what Spencer's kind of saying is find team players, find people who are just willing to do what you need to. Like, for example, our DP was driving one of the trucks. I mean, I'm not sure about anyone else, but I've not been on many projects where the DP just drove the truck, and that saved me from having to find someone to drive the truck, that he was willing to do that. And he helped me find other people willing to drive our other vehicles. Like, that was a team player. So that's just an example.
And while we're talking about crew, I just see somebody else has asked about having issues with crew. We had such an awesome crew on Headcase. I've never been so happy on set. We just, because finding people who I loved and like people who I care about and who I knew were either like talented but also really just good people who were team players, like Jess was saying. We just had like the best time and everybody just wanted to be there and make the movie. And I guess that's the thing, is get people who want to be there. Don't get people who you're having to like drag into the movie, because that's when you get trouble with like people not doing stuff, is because they don't want to be there and they don't want to do your thing. So more important than being an excellent props master is just wanting to make props for you, if that makes sense.
Can I
Yeah,
add as well? So going back to the like, if you don't have contacts, like how do you find people? So one of the people we were struggling to find was locations manager. And so I went through previous Crazy8s films on IMDb Pro and just stalked them, and then found people who had done those roles and then found them on Instagram and then messaged people that way. So that's another way of being like, oh, well, who's at in the last couple of years has been doing Crazy8s, who might be at this point where this is still interesting to them, that this is something they can still grow through. If that's something that you don't have those connections already, like find people who are already invested in Crazy8s as a program.
And
Cool.
another note on that strategy just occurred to me. If you are doing something like that, you're like poaching people, what can be really effective is to find somebody who's like looking to move up into the next thing. So if you have someone who's a gaffer who's like lit a lot of short films, but they haven't gotten a chance to DP one, that could be your DP, because they want to like an opportunity to prove themselves, and they'll be more inclined to like take on this opportunity as a chance for them to show themselves too. That makes sense.
No, it totally does. And I also want to say, as someone from the producing side of Crazy8s, from the Crazy8s perspective, any and all of these scenarios that you described, like both the positive and the not so positive, we've seen in Crazy8s. So can totally verify that what you're saying is absolutely true. What's most critical are people that really want to make your movie, that really want to work with you guys to make this particular project. Sometimes it almost doesn't, it matters a lot less what's on their resume, because sometimes all they want, they're not necessarily that invested in you guys or in your particular project. They just have some time to kill and they just want to do something. And sometimes people just want to do a Crazy8s, but not necessarily yours. So it's really important to filter for all those things, like I find, and I'm not interested in naming any names. That's not what this is about. This is just in our experience as producing Crazy8s. This is what we've seen. Yeah, and never be afraid to ask. A lot of people slide into other people's DMs like at that point when it comes to top 40, top 12, and you'd be amazed like what just a friendly reach out could possibly do as well. So like just moving on quickly, are you allowed to submit more than one pitch, or allowed to be involved in another team's pitch in another role? Yes, the short answer is yes. At the initial submission stage, you are absolutely allowed to do that. And you can also pitch in a different position on more than one team in the quarterfinals. We only ask that if you are still part of two teams that make it to the semifinals, the top 12, then that's when you have to choose one or the other. That's the only thing that we would say to that. So have you guys made any money off your film Headcase so that actors and crew got paid? Let you guys answer that. Yeah.
Not
Not
yet. Not yet.
But we
Yeah,
will,
like-
I know it.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Because you guys literally you just made your film and it's just starting its festival rounds right now. So it's a little early for that, even for festival money necessarily to come through, because you guys are on your second festival acceptance, I think, or second or third.
We just got 3, but
Yeah, third festival acceptance.
but on the topic of paying people, like you can't, obviously with the budget of Crazy8s, you can't pay people, but it was really important to me to find ways of making it worth it for people who were working for us as much as I could. And so people who were like the amazing Ape who helped us with our prosthetic head, like I made it a point of making sure that we got something for him to, he wanted to do it. He didn't expect any kind of gift or anything, but we got him, a nice South African bottle of wine because he's a South African guy, and just like stuff like that to show people that like we appreciate them, and because you are ultimately building relationships with people that you want to work with in the future. So just like little things, even if they're not like money necessarily, just things you can do for people to make it feel worth their while.
Cool. Thank you, Spence, because a really important point as well. Next, okay, does Crazy8s try to have the 6 finalists represent various groups, i.e. female director, BIPOC director, yabba yabba, so that many stories or groups get represented, or is it simply the top 6 best ideas that get produced? Jayme, do you want to take a stab at this?
Sure. Yeah, I think it always is part of the discussion. Who's in those top 12, sort of looking at sort of having some balance at the end of the day. Even genre comes into discussion sometimes, sort of again, sort of having some variety, again, thinking of, getting out into the marketplace. So I don't think that at the end of the day, somebody would get eliminated because they weren't on the checklist, or we were weighted in one way too much or the other. But we do have these discussions as well as to, who is the team, what do they represent, what is the genre, what is the story. So it is part of our discussion for sure. So we're trying to find a balance at the end of the day, but it is still about story. So if it's didn't come through in the script, it's not going to get you through because you are, representing a certain group that we don't have in the other 5 that we've chosen at the end of the day. So it is a consideration, but I don't think it's going to get you to sail through anything.
Cool. Thank you, Jayme. Yeah, and from the producer's perspective, that is the Crazy8s perspective, I echo that. We do keep an arm's length from the jury process, so the jury actually really does make the decisions. We provide the jury with some guidelines just in terms of, what does Crazy8 stand for, and definitely, like we want to make sure that that all groups are represented if their story, their script, end of the day, is good enough, and if their team is solid enough. That's really what it comes down to. Okay, so the post-production timeline seems like a bigger crunch than anything. Did you make any considerations to compensate for that fact early on? Anything that was brought up in any step of the pitching process? Does any of the teams want to address that? Like, did you guys take into consideration that you'd only have like 5 days for post, for example, when you were crafting your live pitches and or answers to potential questions? Because like there were certainly different challenges like for both films, Red Light Rebel, in terms of certain locations and things, and certainly in here the head and stuff.
Spencer, do you want to go first?
Sure, I don't care. Yeah, honestly, I think probably the biggest challenge of Crazy8s is editing the movie in. You're not editing it in 5 days. You're editing it in 2.5 days, and then 2.5 days are the other elements of post. So like that's otherwise it's like, okay, 6 weeks to prep a movie. That's fine. 3 days to shoot a movie of like a short film. That's kind of like standard. That's not that crazy. Editing the movie in 2.5 days is what's crazy. So as far as editing goes, we just like went as hard as we could, as long as we could, though we did do a few things strategically to give us a big advantage. I shot like a pre-version of the movie on my phone. Like I kind of shot the entire movie front to back just on my phone. We went to like either the real locations we were thinking of using or just like my kitchen with like me and my DP Gareth and whoever else was available. And we would that was really, really helpful just to help us know what we were doing, but also gave the editor context of like how things are supposed to work. I got the composer working as soon as we possibly could, and that was part of why we made that video, is so that he could start like making music. And he just started like designing music and cues, even though they didn't necessarily have a place to go, like weeks before we shot, so that we would have pieces that we could just like poke into the movie once we were editing, which helped a lot. Another thing we did was there's obviously this effect of the talking head, which can be a big VFX thing. We tried to do as much of that in camera as we possibly could, and it was probably about like 80% in camera with just like a little bit of like VFX stitching to clean it up. And that was also kind of happening while we were editing. So we didn't wait for like the back end of the post period to do the VFX. We were trying to do that and the editing. Like as soon as we were shooting, we had people like getting like a cut done and kind of working so that we had like an assembly by the time we actually got to like our edit.
Cool. I think Ava, do you have your hand up? Or Ava and Hannah, do you have anything to add to this question?
I think just going off of Spencer, for your, especially if you have any like montage scenes in your film, bring the composer on as soon as you can, have them make a piece even if it's rough, because then the editor can kind of cut to that if that's the style of your film, which with montages usually the music kind of really helps that. So I definitely second that. And yeah, you're mostly shooting for the edit because 2 days is insane.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I was fighting for my life during post. Like it is crazy. And in our film, like you'll notice that in the pitch video, I pitched this idea of using VFX heavy transitions and like portals, which I've done before. But when we ended up going to camera, it just didn't really feel necessary. So what we actually used, if you've seen the film, is a lot of sonic cues. So you know, if you got like a slow push in on your actor, and then there's like I don't know what to call it, like a sound that's like growing at the same time, like things like that. So being able to like talk to your post team before you shoot to come up with like alternatives is really good. We also had like like our like amazing composers, like I asked them to compose like tracks with lyrics that would play on the radio, and we needed to like the songs had to be on brand with what the theme was, and we had like recording artists come in. So things like that, I would say the best thing you can do is plan it in advance, previs, pre-listen, give them reference tracks. For editing, oh, we actually had to build one of our scenes in the edit, as in it was not edited the way we shot it for.
Okay. So that was something that you guys came up with on the fly, I guess.
It's like
I
linear
think
in his mind. There's nothing about like that cell phone in the story anymore. So we cut it out, we cut around it. So step one is like hire a really great editor. Mel's like a magician. She built a scene out of nothing. And just like, yeah, openly communicate and plan as much in advance, because when you're down to the wire, you're gonna be able need to be able to like pull like random things out of your pocket that you save for later.
Okay. Thank you guys. Like very valuable like tips there for anyone. Definitely don't wait until you've literally, like finished principal photography to get started in any of these things. Our post manager, Julia, actually starts having conversations with all of the teams really early on to help get them thinking in terms of post already, because post is so critical. Yeah, so definitely bear all of that in mind, like everything that's been said here. And if you do make it to the top 6 for this season, definitely work with our post manager and post supervisor who can help your team get through this process.
Can I just
Okay,
add
so the next
one
question.
thing?
Yeah,
Also,
go ahead.
please feed your post team to like all the participants. Everybody forgets about post, but like they also work like 8 to 12 hours in the dark, and they never get fed because they're on set. So like cover their meals, like thank them, like don't forget about caring for them.
That is awesome. It's true. It's one of the number one rules of indie. If you can't totally pay, definitely feed. This makes a lot of sense. The unsung heroes, also your composer, like I'd argue, like send a gift basket or something, because those guys, like, they're having to like pull like awesome original music for you guys, like out of their amazing brains, like within a very short period of time. And music, as Hannah pointed out as well, like they ended up using sound cues as transitions that were really, really effective. So, definitely your post sound people and your composer, critical. And try and get them on board as early as possible so they can even just read your script, like because that starts giving them ideas and things. So the next question is, does the gala screening preclude from any festivals when it comes to premiere, world premiere? The short answer is no, except for the only festival that we know of that does make an exception is TIFF. TIFF told us that because it's a public screening, they don't want any public screening prior to that film being part of TIFF. Most other festivals, they understand that Crazy8s is an educational program, and so they don't consider it a festival screening or a public screening in a festival sense. So the only exception that I know of, totally being transparent and real, is TIFF. Like TIFF basically told us no, because there has been a public screening. It doesn't matter to us that you guys are an educational program. If there's a public screening of any kind, then that precludes them from eligibility. So as far as locations, are most films usually shot on location, or are studios available? Well, Crazy8s does not provide studio space per se, although we do have quite a number of supporters and partners, like in-kind supporters and partners, that may be able to help out. So usually what we could do is either do an e-intro or maybe provide a list of contacts in some cases. And if you mention that you are Crazy8s, then that'll open the conversation, like with those studio spaces, and even in some cases locations as well. I don't know if any team wants to respond to that, or if you guys are good.
I just have a quick comment. For both like finding crew and finding locations and gear and stuff, I think Crazy8s is really good about providing like lists and stuff. Like for example, for crew, there was one where I think anybody can submit, if that's correct, and like list the roles that they want and like why they want to join a project. So that's available. And then like I found many times there was a period where we were like, oh, should we shoot Red Light Rebel on a studio lot? So we asked Crazy8s if you guys know people for that, and then a list was provided, and then we were able to reach out. And it's great because then you can just even build the relationship for future projects, even if you don't go with them on that particular project. So Crazy8s is very good about providing lists and contacts.
Thank you. Like we hope so. I'm glad to hear that it's kind of helped. Does anyone else want to comment on this at all in terms of how they found things?
Yeah. I think like don't be afraid to reach out to like 5 to 10 locations for one place. Like if you want a church, don't think that you're, gonna get a one-on-one with like 1 out of the 3. Like definitely reach out to 5 or 10. If you want like a studio space, like those are like expensive to run. Like so if you can offer like, hey, like I'll come PA like on one of your shoots for a day, or if you need somebody to come in after shoot to wrap, or like whatever you can do to help them. Or like if you have any other services, like you're an editor as well and they're like they have a commercial that they need edited, things like that. It's very much like a beneficial, like, scratch each other's back type arrangement.
Cool. Yeah, going once, going twice. I think that's it. I mean, thank you all. Like thank you to like both Team Headcase and Team Red Light Rebel. Like super appreciate you guys being able to be here for this to help out like potentially the next gen of like people who are going to be pitching and are submitting. Hugely appreciate this. This is what Crazy8s is about. Like it is a community, and you guys are living proof of this. Huge thanks. And thank you everyone for attending. You please watch your inboxes because we are doing a random draw for a couple of free submissions to Crazy8s. And right there is like all our channels in that. If you guys are not already following us, please do so. You can also sign up for our newsletter. You sign up from the bottom, I think, of the homepage of our website. Thank you all so much for attending. Cannot thank you guys enough, like Team Headcase and Team Red Light Rebel. And hopefully see some or all of you even like at the in-person pitches. And the gala screening is on April the 11th, 2026. Thanks so much, everyone.